Today to talk about the Holocaust. I feel that the Holocaust should be taught in all the public schools in the United States. In a time like this, where cultural discrimination is at its peak, it is important to keep in mind the lessons that history has taught us. The mass murdering of Jews and the autocracies that the Nazis displayed to the people of Europe might have ceased to exist if Adolf Hitler had grown up with a culture of anti-racism. The annihilation of the Kurds in northern Iraq would not have been in our history books if Saddam Hussein had the knowledge of equal rights. My friends, I urge you to listen to my message, as it will make our world a better place. Now, educating our students with the Holocaust will make them aware of the repercussions of discriminating against other cultural backgrounds. For example, recently, a boy in Bridgewater Raritan High School was caught with explosives and weapons. His goal was to massacre the students and blow up the entire school. If that student was as fortunate as I to be informed about the Holocaust, he most definitely would not have done what he had done. He ruined the rest of his life because he was focused on eliminating the ethnic enemy. This is what happens when you do not take in mind the consequences of your actions. To further illustrate, the British conquered Bengal, a region of India, by dividing and conquering the Hindus and the Muslims. We Indians were so obscured by their racial prejudice that we could not discern the British plan to rule and virtually turn us into slaves. The Hindus thought the Muslims were the enemy, and the Muslims thought the Hindus were the enemy, but the real enemy was the British. Since the Indians did not perceive the magnitude of their actions, they were subjected to years of bondage and poverty. Now, we need to change our mindset about racism, and we should try to correct those who think racistly. If we put ourselves near other people who are racist, we too will eventually become racist. Remember, if you fill your mind with junk, that's what will come out. For example, Adolf Hitler lost his mom and when he was very young. He tried to excel in art, but he failed, so he had to go to a slum. In the slums, the people there were very anti-Jewish. And since he was there for about 2 years, he was not anti-Jewish before that. His parents were actually somewhat Jewish, and since he was there for such a long time, he became anti-Jewish. So, since he kept himself around people who were anti-Jewish, he too became Jewish. Anti-Jewish, I mean. Yeah. So, yeah. For example, there was another boy who was doing exceptionally well in school. Then he started hanging around the wrong crowd. The crowd smoked and vandalized stuff. He shouldn't have been around them. Then one day he got suspended he was caught writing on the school wall. He was really smart and he could have gone to a good college, but then later when he sent an application to Harvard, they rejected him because they saw a suspension on his record. Now, if he had thought about the consequences of his actions, he wouldn't have had that thing on his record. He did not get like that overnight. It took a long time for those thoughts and those morally unjust values to go into his head. Now it's too late for him to change his actions. In the poorest countries of the world, ethnic groups are fighting each other just because of their differences. In Sudan, a North African country with a 6-to-4 Arab-black ratio, the Arabs are killing all the blacks and calling it ethnic cleansing. This region is called Darfur. The Sudanese president, Omar Hassan Ahmed al-Bashir, has been issued an arrest warrant by the International Court of Justice for Genocide. I feel that the so-called ethnic cleansing is fueled by narrow-mindedness, injustice, and hatred. If people were more accepting and tolerant of each other, the 1 million people that have been killed in the name of ethnic supremacy, strife, and religion might still be alive today. In Iraq, the Muslims are killing each other just because of their differences in religion. If they could come together and put their good values together, they could make their country a much better place. My friends, justice, mercy, and peace are beckoning us to come into its paths. Let us go and do as they say.
future, we think of flying cars, jetpacks, and all our work is taken care of by robots or some kind of mechanics. But the truth is, by 2012, our population is supposed to be at 9 billion. We'll all be searching for food, water, and essentials for life, all because of global warming. Greenhouse gases trap the sun's heat inside the earth, and usually they occur naturally. But humans cause more of global warming because they enhance fumes like carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. What many people don't know is that there's tons of carbon dioxide under the polar ice caps. And since these ice caps have already started to melt, if it keeps melting, the carbon dioxide will be released, destroying our ozone layer. The sun's heat will cause drought and cause seas to dry up. Drought will cause the crops and forests to die. Flooding will cause overseas to flow into the cities. And eventually everything will stop making food. Our overuse of oil will cause transportation and food prices to go up because we can't find that much anymore. Animals will move further north to escape the heat, carrying disease and plague as well with them. A solution to this predicament is to unplug cables and wires when we're not using them and try to switch to energy-efficient light bulbs. You can use recycled paper to save the trees, and we can carpool with others. Corporations and other companies are starting to use alternative energy, like biomass that burns our garbage so we can get more energy, and tidal power uses waves to power a turbine. So we need to take a look at ourselves and say, are we taking measures to save our planet? We have to save the planet today so we can save for the future generation. Thank you for your time and patience.
And you know, my hobby is soccer, and I just love the sport. And the thing I'm talking about today is my playoffs last year. Our first match was against the All-Stars, which was Clayton's team. And they had beaten the Celtics, another team, in the first round. My team, Chelsea, and the other team, the Rangers, were the top two teams in the league. So we didn't have to play in the first round. So once the game started against the All-Stars, I played goalie. I saved the ball a few times and spread the ball all around the field. And once the second half started, I was a midfielder. We scored a few goals. I don't remember the exact score, but we were winning. I passed the ball around, and I almost had a chance of scoring, but I lost possession, as usual. We ended up winning the match, but the next day my friend told me that the Rangers, the other team, had beaten their team. So we were going to face them in the championship game for the second time in a row. So our championship game was on Saturday at 10 in the morning, unfortunately. So I woke up, had some cereal, watched some TV, and quickly got dressed. My coach, Tom, put me in goal first. I had a really good save. During the second half, we had a free kick. A kid named Danny on my team took the free kick. The ball went right in the corner of the net, and so we were winning 1-0. And then the same kid, Danny, scored again. So in the final minutes, the Rangers scored, but we ended up winning for the second time in a row. We each got a shirt saying Woodbridge Rec Soccer Champions, and that's my experience.